There is something that happens to the human body somewhere between 60 and 65 that almost no one warns you about. Not your doctor at your annual checkup, not the health segments on the morning news, not even the sleep specialists who charge you $300 to tell you to put your phone down an hour before bed. It is quiet, it is invisible, and it is almost certainly the real reason so many people in this age group go to bed exhausted and still wake up at 2 in the morning feeling like their body never got the memo that it was supposed to be resting. And the fix, I want you to hear this clearly, takes 3 minutes, costs nothing, and you can start it tonight. But before I tell you what it is, I want you to think about what your nights actually look like, because I'm guessing it's not what most people picture when they hear the phrase sleep problems. You're not lying awake for hours the moment your head hits the pillow. That would almost be easier to deal with, honestly. What's actually happening is more frustrating than that. You fall asleep fine, maybe even quickly. The pillow feels good, the room is dark, everything seems like it's going to work out, and then somewhere around 1, maybe 2 in the morning, something pulls you back up to the surface. Not a noise, not a dream, just this vague, low-level feeling that something is off. Your legs feel heavy or oddly alert, almost like they've been waiting for permission to move. There might be a dull pressure in your calves that you can't quite name, and so you lie there. You look at the ceiling, you check the clock, you try to will yourself back under, and an hour later you're still there, and now you're doing the math on how many hours you have left before the alarm goes off, which of course makes everything worse. By morning, you don't feel rested. You feel like you spent the night doing something instead of recovering from the day. Sound familiar? I'm willing to bet it does, and here is what I want you to understand about that experience. What you just described is not a sleep problem. It is a circulation problem that shows up at night and gets mistaken for a sleep problem. Those are two completely different things, and treating one when you actually have the other is exactly why nothing you've tried has worked. Here is the simple version of what is actually going on in your body. During the day, you're upright. Gravity is pulling blood and fluid down into your legs all day long. Your body has a system for pushing that blood back up. It involves the muscles in your calves contracting as you walk and a series of small valves inside your veins that act like one-way doors, keeping blood moving upward toward the heart. When you're younger and your vascular system is more elastic, this whole process runs efficiently, almost without effort. But after 60, those vein walls start losing some of their tone. The valves weaken slightly. Blood starts to pool in the lower legs as the day goes on, especially by evening. If your ankles look a little puffier at 7 at night than they did at 7 in the morning, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Now here's where it connects to your sleep. When you lie flat in bed, your body suddenly has to deal with all that pooled fluid. It starts redistributing it back toward your core, toward your kidneys, toward your heart. Your kidneys kick in, your heart rate shifts, and your nervous system, instead of settling into the slow, quiet rhythm it needs to carry you into deep sleep, gets activated by this whole redistribution process. It reads the situation as work that needs to be done. And so, instead of dropping into the deep, restorative stages of sleep that actually leave you feeling human in the morning, your body is busy doing plumbing. That is what wakes you up at 2 a.m., not stress, not age, not some mysterious deterioration you can't do anything about. Your own body trying to handle fluid that built up in your legs all day at the exact moment it should be resting. And the moment I tell you that, the solution becomes almost obvious. What if your legs weren't full of pooled fluid when you got into bed? What if you dealt with that before you ever pulled back the covers, so your heart and your nervous system could actually power down instead of getting recruited for a midnight plumbing job? My name is Dr. William La. I work in cardiovascular health and aging, and the thing I keep running into with patients over 60 is not that their bodies are broken. They're not. What I keep seeing is that their bodies have changed, and nobody took 15 minutes to explain what that actually means for their day-to-day life. Sleep is one of the biggest places that gap shows up, so that's what I'm here to do today. I want to tell you about a patient before I show you the position, because I think his story is going to feel uncomfortably familiar. His name is Robert Callahan, 66 years old, retired high school football coach from Columbus, Ohio. Robert came in and the first thing he said to me was, "I haven't slept a full night in about 3 years and I've tried everything." He wasn't exaggerating. He had done the melatonin. He had done the white noise machine. He had bought a new mattress, a good one. He made sure to tell me, like he wanted credit for taking it seriously. He had cut out alcohol, cut back on coffee, tried going to bed earlier, tried going to bed later. Nothing had made a lasting difference. He would sleep a few hours, wake up at 2 or 2:30, lie there for an hour, sometimes drift back, sometimes not. When I asked Robert what his evenings looked like, He described what I hear constantly from men his age: dinner around 6, some television, feet up in the recliner, in bed around 10. Then I asked him one question that stopped him cold. I said, "Robert, do your ankles look bigger at night than they did in the morning?" He stared at me for a second like I had just asked him something completely unrelated to anything we had been talking about. Then he said, "Yeah, actually, sometimes pretty." Noticeably, I told Robert I wanted him to try one thing for 2 weeks before we discussed anything else. No new supplements, no sleep diary, no expensive gadget. Just 3 minutes before bed with his legs up the wall. He looked at me the way a lot of people do, like he was being polite but was already pretty sure this was not going to be the thing. 2 weeks later, he came back. He walked in, sat down, and said, "My wife tried it after she saw what happened to me. We're both doing it now." Robert was sleeping until 5, sometimes 6 in the morning. The heavy, restless feeling in his legs at bedtime had mostly disappeared. He said he felt, for the first time in years, like his sleep was actually doing something. Nothing changed about his bedroom, his routine, his stress levels, or his diet. What changed was the state of his legs when he got into bed. Okay, let me walk you through exactly how to do this, because it is genuinely simple and I don't want you overthinking it. Find a clear stretch of wall. Your bedroom wall is perfect, the one right next to where you sleep if possible. Sit down on the floor right next to the wall with one of your hips touching it. Then slowly swing your legs up so the backs of your legs are resting against the wall and your body is forming roughly a 90-degree angle, legs going up, torso going flat, your back is on the floor, your arms can rest wherever is comfortable, at your sides, on your belly, it doesn't matter. Now your legs do not need to be ramrod straight. If your hamstrings are tight, a gentle bend in the knees is completely fine. This is not a stretch. You're not trying to achieve anything athletic here. The only thing that matters is that your legs are elevated above the level of your heart. That's the whole position. Now just stay there for 3 minutes. Set a timer on your phone, so you're not watching the clock. While you're lying there, gravity is doing something your veins have been struggling to do efficiently all day. The blood and fluid that pooled in your calves and ankles is draining back toward your core. Your venous return, that's just the rate at which blood flows back to your heart, improves within the first 60 to 90 seconds. Your heart rate drops slightly because it's receiving blood more easily and doesn't have to work as hard to pull it from your legs. And here's the part that directly connects to why you wake up at 2 in the morning. Your autonomic nervous system, the one in charge of flipping the switch between alert mode and rest mode, reads that cardiovascular shift as a signal that it is safe to slow down, the midnight redistribution job that was going to keep activating your nervous system. It's already been handled. Your body gets into bed with nothing urgent on its to-do list. And deep sleep becomes available earlier in the night and stays available longer. You might feel a mild tingling in your legs during this, especially the first few times. That's normal. That's circulation improving. If your lower back is uncomfortable, fold a small towel and tuck it under your hips. If you have a history of blood clots, heart failure, or glaucoma, have a quick conversation with your doctor before you start this. Now, I want to tell you what to actually watch for over the next couple of weeks, because there is a specific sequence that tends to happen, and knowing it in advance will help you stick with it long enough to feel the full effect. By about the third night, most people notice that the restless, weighted feeling in their legs at bedtime is quieter. Not necessarily gone, but turned down. The body is starting to arrive at bedtime in a better circulatory state than it used to. By day 7, the middle of the night waking often starts to shift. It might still happen, but it gets shorter. Instead of lying awake for an hour at 2 a.m., people find themselves drifting back in 10 or 15 minutes because the trigger, the fluid redistribution, has already been dealt with before bed. And by the end of 2 weeks, if you've been doing this consistently, most people describe something that honestly sounds a little emotional when they say it out loud. They say they woke up and felt rested, not just less tired, actually rested, like sleep had done its job for the first time in a long time. I've heard people say they forgot what that felt like. That is not a small thing. I want to ask you something right now, and I genuinely mean this. Drop your answer in the comments below. What time do you usually wake up in the middle of the night? Just type the time, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., whatever it is for you. I'm asking because if you scroll through those comments, you are going to notice something. The same times keep showing up over and over again, and that is not a coincidence. There is a reason certain hours of the night are when the body hits these circulation cycles and triggers that partial waking, and seeing it reflected back in hundreds of other people's comments has a way of making you realize that what you've been dealing with is not just you, and it is not just aging, and it is absolutely something that can change. And if there is someone in your life who you eat breakfast with on Saturdays, or who called you last week complaining that they've been exhausted for months, or a spouse who has been tossing around in the bed next to you at 2 in the morning for the past 2 years, send them this video, not because it's complicated, because it's finally the right explanation. Most of what people hear about sleep after 60 is about habits and hygiene and screen time. This is about something underneath all of that, and sometimes people just need to hear the thing that actually explains what's happening to them. Here is what I want you to do tonight. Not this weekend, not tomorrow, tonight, within the next hour if you can. Find your wall, set a 3-minute timer. Do this once before you get into bed. That is the entire commitment for day 1. If you want to take it further, and I think you should give it a real shot, make it a 30-day challenge for yourself. Same wall, same 3 minutes, within about 30 minutes of getting into bed every night for 30 days. Because here is the truth about something like this. You can read about it, you can nod along watching this video, and you can think, yeah, that makes sense, and then close the tab and never actually try it, or you can do it tonight and find out for yourself what happens by the end of the week. I've watched it change sleep for a lot of people, but the only version that matters is what it does for you. Now, before you go, subscribe if this gave you something you hadn't heard before, because next week I'm covering something that connects directly to what we just talked about. There is a specific nutrient that the majority of adults over 60 are running low on without ever knowing it, and its entire job in the body at night is to keep your blood vessels relaxed and your nervous system calm enough to stay in deep sleep. Most doctors don't test for it, most people don't know to ask, and the food sources everyone recommends for it, the ones on every health website, are actually the least absorbable forms for people over 60. That video goes up next week and it builds on exactly what we covered today. You are going to want to have seen this one first. I'll see you there.